The attacks of September 11th have generated a lot of crazy theories over the years, but the strangest to me are the ones that claim that the tragedy was predicted in various music albums. These range from interpreting the lyrics a certain way to the album art alluding to the attacks, and in one blatant case, a cover depicting the Twin Towers blowing up. So up next we have System of a Down with their second album, Toxicity, originally released on September 4th, 2001. Now, it's hard to pinpoint where this theory came from, but I found a 2009 post on the website Fluther. The user Darbio16 poses the question, did this album predict 9/11, and then lists 5 pieces of evidence, starting with the record label featuring an upside-down American flag. Other evidence included the fact that the album was released a week before the attacks, the lyrics to the song Jet Pilot are reminiscent of 9/11, the song ATWA is based on the terrorist Ali Atwa, who tried to hijack a plane, and lastly, 3 of the songs on the album refer to air travel, including the 2 I already mentioned, and the third being the song Aerials. Now, honestly, this theory doesn't hold up very well for me. American Recordings have been using the upside-down flag logo since 1993. Up next, we have the idea that Radiohead's Kid A is the soundtrack to the attacks. This theory originates from the 2005 book Killing Yourself to Live, 85% of a True Story. At one point in his book, Chuck Klosterman explains why he thinks that Kid A, an album that came out in 2000, predicted the events of 9/11. So hours after the attacks happened, he was driving around Akron, Ohio, and listening to Kid A, and he was struck by how the music seemed to mimic the events in New York City. He called it a musical storyboard for that particular day. So in 1997, Michael Jackson released a remix album titled Blood on the Dance Floor, and while it was seen as a commercial disappointment at the time, it was only after the attacks that people saw the cover as a prediction of 9/11. So if we look at the cover, Michael is dancing in front of a generic cityscape with one of the buildings bearing a resemblance to the Twin Towers. Now, if you look at his arms as if they're an analog clock, he is pointing to 9 and 11. Others believe he is pointing to the time of the first attack. Either way, his pose is seen as a warning of the attacks. And this seems pretty far-fetched in my opinion. However, what is fascinating is that years later, his brother Jermaine claims that Michael was supposed to be in the World Trade Center the morning of the attacks. He missed his meeting because he had stayed up too late the night before and overslept, but that is just... Alright, moving on to the third live album by the progressive metal band Dream Theater, we have Live Scenes from New York. And this was originally released, and I kid you not, on September 11th, 2001. The cover art depicts an apple wrapped in barbed wire and the New York City skyline in flames. Supposedly this was in reference to the band's 1992 album. The next day on September 12th, the drummer wrote a statement on the band's website. He wanted to make it explicitly clear that it was all an unfortunate coincidence. He also added that they were in talks with their record label about replacing the cover art, which they eventually did in October of that year. In 2000, a band from Savannah, Georgia called Squad 50 released their third album, Bombs Over Broadway.
Have pleaded guilty to federal charges after investigators say the white officers tortured 2 black men for hours, then tried to cover up the crime. Miguel Almaguer now with what the victims are telling us tonight.
Tonight, Eddie Parker and Michael Jenkins say justice can be served now that the 6 white Mississippi law enforcement officers who beat them for nearly 2 hours have entered guilty pleas.
That's getting smarter.
No.
Or tougher. Or tougher. Or tougher. I think you would agree.
In fact, we've been here before, so we're late and light.
Yeah, exactly. And there's still, it's remarkable, before and after Istanbul, we still don't have a way to actually, we still don't have a program that allows us to find and get information from terrorists effectively. And so we've got no problem with what he says generally, but talking about waterboarding and even things worse.
He's throwing waterboarding out like it was a secret sauce. Once we do that, everything will be fine. Look, we did it. We used it on 3 people. It was a long time ago. We still believe it was useful in those cases, but frankly, I was struck by your conversation a few minutes ago. Our most powerful tool in interrogating at the black sites weren't the enhanced techniques.
Right.
It was our knowledge. Now, for about a third of our detainees, in order to get to that, let's use our knowledge.
EITs are what they call enhanced interrogation techniques.
Right.
All right, so he's saying...
Harsh interrogation techniques.
Right, you're saying that would be a better term for them. But the point is, he said the cause and effect is not clear. He can't say that the techniques led to the gathering of the information. That's the point he made. You have said those methods work specifically. You once wrote, I'll quote you, waterboarding broke Khalid Sheikh Mohammed like a dam, and that it helped find bin Laden. But it doesn't seem John Brennan is as sure.
One by one. One. I try not to let my anger get the better of me. 2. I don't always succeed. 3. I've got 7 more points.
Beyond the reach of God's faith lies the wounded, the shattered remains of love betrayed, and the innocence of a childless body and soul. In the name of the damned, the rage of the angels left silent and cold. Forgive me, please, for I know not what I do. How can I keep inside the hurt I know is true? Well, tell me when the kiss of love becomes a lie, that this has got us in too deep to hide behind this fear. Running up to you, please let there be light in a darkened room. All the precious times have been put to rest again, and the smile of the dawn brings tainted lost singing my requiem.